Could the 76ers trade for Houston Rockets forward Tari Eason? That's what we're going to be talking about here on 76ers. Now, I am Jake Chipper. Bleacher Report proposing a trade, sending Tari Eason to the 76ers. We're going to break down how I think Tari Eason could fit on the 76ers roster and take a look at the actual trade they propose, if I think it makes sense, and if I would do the deal. Before we get into that, I want you guys to get in the comment section right now, grade the job that you think Daryl Morey has done this offseason for the 76ers. Obviously, it's been a busy offseason, bringing in a lot of new pieces, bringing in the star of the offseason in Paul George, but a lot of good surrounding pieces as well, in my opinion. Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon, Reggie Jackson, Caleb Martin, a lot of new faces coming in. So I'm curious now that we're kind of winding down the offseason, what you guys think that Daryl Morey did. So grade him A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comment section. Without further ado, let's get into today's show. So Tari Eason, as I mentioned, tabbed as a potential trade target for the 76ers by Bleacher Report. They put together a little trade idea of their own. They were doing 5 trade ideas that they could see shaking up the NBA this season, and this was one of them, sending Tari Eason to Philadelphia. So let's talk about the player first, and then we'll get to the actual trade they proposed, because it's a little interesting, and I think people are going to have some opinions on it, but I want you guys to get to know the player before we talk about the actual trade. So if you don't know who is Tari Eason, he's 23 years old, a wing. He's 6'8" with a 7'2" wingspan, 216 pounds. So he's got really good size, and of course, he's still very young. He's played just 2 seasons in the league. He was a 17th overall pick back in the 2022 NBA draft out of LSU. Also spent 1 year prior to that at Cincinnati. He was on the 2022-23 All-Rookie second team. He's played 104 games in his 2 seasons with the Rockets, but did play just 22 games last year. Dealt with a leg injury that was kind of an injury in the preseason. He tried to play and come back from it, but ultimately was not able to, ended up having season-ending surgery on that leg. Luckily, it seems like he has recovered from that. He had surgery back in March. It was about a 4-month recovery, but he seems to be doing okay. Now, you take a look at what Tari Eason has done here so far in the league, and it's been pretty consistent over his first 2 seasons. Rookie year comes in and was pretty impressive. A little over 9 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, and we'll talk about this as we talk about Tari Eason, but at his size, he's able to be aggressive and crash the glass, which we know is a big need for the Sixers. He's also a very good defensive player. You can see the steal and block numbers over the past 2 seasons for him, and has been decently efficient. You will not see on here his 3-point numbers. A little bit of a weakness of his, but we will talk about that later. I want to start with some of his strengths, and his strength really starts on the defensive end of the floor. He's very versatile. At his size, he has the foot speed and the defensive capabilities to guard really 1 through 5. In his time in Houston last year, even as a rookie, he was guarding point guard, shooting guards. He could guard anywhere over the floor and do it at an extremely high level. He's smart. He's aggressive. And Bleacher Report, I think, had a great little snippet that kind of shows how effective he can be on the defensive end. Here's what they had to say about Tari Eason. Eason is disruptive enough on defense for Philly to pivot away from any already mapped out scenarios, talking about other trade scenarios that they might be thinking of. He guards basically 4 or 5 positions, and get this, only 3 other players have matched or exceeded his steal and block rates in at least as many minutes through their first 2 seasons. Andre Kirilenko, Nerlens Noel, and Matisse Thybulle. Now, the defense, it's going to be there, right? That's his calling card. Even back to his college days, he's always been very good on that end. There is one concern, and it is his outside shot. Now, this isn't like a Ben Simmons situation, right? It's not that he's awful from 3 and he doesn't take any at all, and it's a major, major liability. It's just a weakness to his game, but an area that I think he can improve upon to, keep getting better and possibly reach, not quite an all-star level player, but a high-end starter. You look at some of his advanced shooting numbers, and we're going to look at his advanced shooting numbers from his rookie season because, again, played just 22 games last year, so not a super large sample size. He took about 2.1 3-point attempts per game, and it was pretty similar last year as well. So he's not shooting too many threes for reference. Star players like Tyrese Maxey took 8 a game last year. Paul George is going to be around the same number. Even Caleb Martin is up over 4 threes a game. So just 2.1 3-point attempts a game. It's not a lot. And only shot 34%. Did get up to 36 last year, but again, limited sample size. 3-point frequency, that's how many of his shots were threes, 26%. So about 1 of every 4 shots he takes are from behind the arc. Obviously, when you think about the construction of this roster, you probably want someone that shoots threes at a little bit of a higher rate. that can space the floor for Joel Embiid. Catch and shoot three-point percentage was, decent, 35.8%, and again, was also very similar this past season. One of the reasons, though, I love Tari Eason, his age combined with the contract. Again, I said just 23 years old, and he's under team control for at least the next 2 seasons, and very, very cheap. $3.7 million this year, $5.6 million next year on a team option, and then he'll be a restricted free agent. So if the Sixers do trade for him and want to keep him around, well, he'll be restricted. They can match any offer he gets, and they'll be able to keep him around long term. So I like, the combination of skill set here, age, the defensive ability really, really intrigues me, and the contract as well. I think Tari Eason's a very intriguing player that I would like to see in the Sixers. But what say you? Would you trade for Tari Eason? We'll get to the actual details of a trade here in a second, but if you could just decide yes or no if you want Tari Eason on the team, would you do it? Type T for trade, type P for pass. Let me know if you like the player down in the comments section. Now, coming up next, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about that actual trade proposal, what Bleacher Report has a Sixers setting back, because obviously you bring in a player that's as talented and as young as Tari Eason is, you got to give something up. So we'll talk about that and if I agree with what they had the Sixers setting out. Before we get to that, though, got to keep telling you about these Paul George jerseys. I've been saying I was thinking about getting one. Well, I ordered one, and it's on the way. So I'll be getting my Paul George jersey here real soon. I'm going to be rocking it on the show. So make sure you get yours today. Go to chatsports.com/PaulGeorge. They have all sizes you could ever need, blue, white, all the colors. So make sure you get those before the season starts so you can be ready. If you go to a game, you want to be able to rock that fresh Paul George jersey and, show it off when you're going out. Like, hey, I got the PGN on my back, baby. So before they run out, because they're going to be a hot commodity, go get yours now, chatsports.com/PaulGeorge. That'll be in the comments section and the description of today's video. So let's get right into it. This is the trade that Bleacher Report proposed to get Tari Eason to Philadelphia. As the Sixers, getting Tari Eason and Hawks legend A.J. Griffin. He's bounced around the league a little bit since being a first-round pick for them. Hasn't really been able to stick. He's more just salary filler in this case because, again, Eason only makes a few million. K.J. Martin, who the Sixers are going to send out here, makes about 8. So the Sixers will be giving up K.J. Martin and then 2 first-round picks. Now, this 2026 first, it is the least favorable of OKC, the Clippers, and Houston. So it's more than likely than not going to be a back end of the first-round selection, even if the Clippers fall off a little bit by 2026. I think either Houston, definitely OKC, is going to be one of the better teams in the league. So back end of the first-round pick. This is the pick that I think Sixers fans are going to have a little bit of a problem with, and that's trading away this 2028 Clippers first. And we'll talk about this in a second, but it is important to note that this trade can't actually happen until December 15th because KJ Martin was re-signed by the Sixers this offseason, so there's restrictions there. They have to wait until that December 15th date to actually move him. Now, look, I get this 2028 Clippers first. It's a valuable, valuable asset, right? You think about what the Clippers roster might look like in 2028. I mean, obviously Paul George is already gone, and then they have aging stars in James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, so that's a very, very valuable pick. That being said, I think I'm still making this deal. And I can get the backlash and the pushback from Sixers fans saying, I don't want to trade that 2028 Clippers first. I want to save it for a true star player because as good as Tari Eason is, and I love him, I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league, he's not a superstar. He's not even a star player. Preferably, maybe you can get away with throwing a different first-round pick in there instead of the Clippers first. You can debate a little bit. You can bargain a little bit, try to play hardball with the Rockets. But look, Tari Eason is a very, very good player, and his mold and the type of role he can play, if you can get a player like that I truly think can complete your starting lineup and fill out the need in your roster, I think it's still worth it. Even if maybe him as a player alone isn't worth 2 firsts, I think the value he brings, the skill set he brings could be worth 2 firsts. Because if you make the trade and get you a championship, it doesn't matter what you gave up. Why I'm saying yes, again, as I mentioned, I think he's a perfect fit in that starting lineup. He can slide right into that starting power forward position, which the Sixers have a massive need in still because Caleb Martin, 6'5". He's undersized, not a true 4. Neither is Kelly Oubre or Paul George. The thing he's going to help the most with is his rebounding and toughness, especially in the defensive end. Look, the Sixers have a massive hole at that 4 spot and a massive hole and a need for rebounding. Tari Eason can rebound the heck out of the ball with his, again, 6'8" height, 7'2" wingspan. He's tough. He's aggressive. He plays hard. He plays physical. He's going to be able to crash that glass, both in the offensive and defensive end of the floors. I talked about, and I've raved about his defensive ability already and his versatility. He can guard, again, all over the floor. And it's just a player the Sixers don't have that type of skill set on their roster already. When they're going up against some of these big, strong forwards in the Eastern Conference, think of a Jason Tatum, think of a Giannis. They don't have somebody that can truly stop those guys right now. Not that Tari Eason would be able to lock them down and completely shut them down, but he can do a better job than anybody else on the Sixers roster at this moment. Again, he's still young, just 23 years old, under team control the next couple of years. And he has shown flashes offensively. He's had multiple 20-point games in his career. He's shown the ability to shoot well from the outside. And look, if he can develop that side of the ball and he can figure it out from outside the arc and knock down catch and shoot threes, even at a 37, 38% clip, I mean, this kid could be really, really special because he has it all on the defensive end of the floor. If he can get it on that offensive end of the floor, he could be a scary, scary player in that Sixers starting lineup. Now, you might be thinking, listen to me rave about Tari Eason and how good he is. I would trade 2 first-round picks. Why would Houston want to give him up if he's so good? Well, Houston is loaded right now with young talent, especially at that wing position. Jabari Smith Jr., they took 3rd overall not too long ago. They paid Dylan Brooks a ton of money to be one of their starting forwards. They still have Amen Thompson, who's coming along. And they have Cam Whitmore as well, who's been very, very good for them. So they have a lot of young forwards. It's very crowded. Plus, they still got to pay Alperen Sengun and Jalen Green. Now, will they trade one of those two? Probably. You probably can't afford to pay both of them and also paying, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, and all that. But they're very, very loaded there. And maybe they want to, move off of a player in Tari Eason who does have some injury concerns. That certainly is an aspect to discuss here that we haven't really hit on is, he is coming off a pretty major injury and season-ending leg surgery. So it's a risk, but I think it's a risk worth taking. Maybe the Rockets decide we have enough talent. We can move off of him, get rid of that risk, get a couple more picks that maybe they can use to trade for a Kevin Durant, who they've been rumored to be targeting, or another star player. But you've heard my opinion so far on this trade for Tari Eason. Let me know. Would you accept this trade? Type A for accept, type D for decline. Again, I understand that 2028 Clippers pick could be very, very, very valuable. So I'm curious what Sixers fans got to say about this one. That's going to do it for today's show. If you enjoyed, hit that thumbs up icon and hit that sub button. We're bringing you content every single day in this offseason leading up to the season. We got you covered year round as well. Again, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video if you enjoyed today's show, and we'll see you next time here on 76ers Now.